So full disclosure, I spent a lot of time at Alienware, had a great time. I came in there from Miami, Florida, and it was a great time. And we're here today with Frank Azor. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Um, it was really awesome because I was hanging out with the Red Eye LAN party, and I met a lot of people, and I got connected with Alienware. And what's really awesome is I always had the feeling that you were able to mix the idea of people who had a love of gaming with a corporate environment and get the job done. And what was really awesome for me was the fact that you had people who could clearly go and play these games, have fun in an environment, but when customers needed to get things done, when work needed to get things done, they were able to do it. And a lot of times in business, even still today, you see some companies, Google, some other companies, game companies, are able to do that, mix a fun environment but still getting the work done. Now, you, of course, being in management, being in high positions, especially now, you've seen that. Could you just give us an idea of how you're able to do that, especially with so many young people at the time, having young people, that fun environment, but still being able to, you know, put the best foot forward for the customer?
Yeah, it was interesting. We used to kind of talk about how we worked really hard and we played really hard at the same time. And whether it was we were playing games or we were going out together as a team on the weekends, sometimes during the week. But to your point, right? We were a very young company. A lot of us were either in school, some cases high school, some cases college. We were in a lot of cases not married yet. We didn't have kids. And granted, we had ages, all types of ages within the company, but kind of those of us that were in the 20-year-old, early 30-year-old category, we all kind of like, I don't know, we formed kind of like this. It's not, I wouldn't say it's like a fraternity,
It's
but
it's more like a fraternity
it
than
kind of
anything
was. I
else.
mean, because I can remember going out at night on the weekends and stuff, and it didn't matter if it was VPs or the janitor. If everybody wanted to go out, we all just went out and we hung out and we joked around and we had drinks or we'd get together for a LAN party. Or like the roles and the titles and things really didn't matter as soon as it was like 6 or 7 o'clock, right? Everybody was just equal footing, and I think that culture of having that kind of an environment was what helped us breed that like play hard type of culture that we had. At the same time, most of us, not all, but a lot of us were gamers. So it's like that was our passion. That's what we loved to do. We got to come to work and kind of professionalize that to some extent. But that passion also helped us understand when we screwed up for a customer, how we could relate, we could understand, we could put ourselves in the customer's shoes. And I think that fueled a lot of the decisions and the passion and the work hard kind of culture and mentality that we had is we never really wanted to disappoint our customers. We never wanted to disappoint each other because we were all friends as much as we were colleagues. And we made a lot of sacrifices back then, but damn, we had a lot of fun too, all at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think, being our own customer and working in it was a hard culture. It was a tough environment because we had so much going on and we had so few resources and our appetite was bigger than our stomachs. But because so much of us could relate to what we were doing and we loved, the game itself of playing games and what we were building. I mean, we are still building the most badass toys out there, if you will. I think it made it easier for us to be self-motivated to go work extra hard and hang out together and do all those things because there was a really cool purpose that we were all working towards, a purpose that we were going to all benefit from as well as gamers ourselves.
I know that you always saw, and I saw this, where people, especially people who built their own systems, they were always saying, oh, well, why would I need to go to Alien where I can build a system? Or why do I need to put this together? And I think a lot of people didn't understand, like, either those that either didn't have the time or didn't have the skill to put together a system, and they didn't understand like what it actually took to put together a system. Could you just give people like a little understanding that if you want to put together a high-end gaming system, and either you don't have the time, you don't have the skill, that's why you need to have a high performance company put that together for you, to kind of like answer that question of like why you need to have a high-end boutique system if you want to have a high-end gaming system.
Yeah, there's. I'll talk about kind of three profiles of customers or people out there. There's a lot more than this, but these three specifically around the question that you're asking. There's people that have the technical knowledge to build their own hardware. And if you have that knowledge and it's easy and it's intuitive for you to go build your own PC, we're never going to build a product better than you can build it yourself. And I'm happy and proud and confident to say that because I came from the DIY background. And a lot of us did here too. It's part of the reason how we were able to qualify for the jobs here.
Yeah, we could. That was one of the first things was how many computers have you built and what games are you playing?
Yeah, exactly. You know the fundamentals of hardware and well back then like buses and DMAs and IRQs and all that stuff because it was a lot more complicated back then than it is today. So you have that kind of the people that have that knowledge base. Then you have people that just want to play games and they don't want to deal with headaches and they're not even in some cases technical necessarily. They just want to turn on their PC, get into the games that they love, and then get out and not have to worry about the tech. And then you've got people that want to do that, but they also have the technical skills and abilities. Um, we're not trying to tell anybody that we can build a PC better than you. All we're trying to do is, if you're that person who just wants to focus on the games and not want to focus on the tech, well, we have a solution for you, right? A to Z. We have the hardware, we've got the support and service, and we've got the quality that you'd want to have a product that's going to last you a long time and that you're not going to have to worry about. If you are technically adept and you can build your own rig, at some point in the future, if there ever comes a time where you no longer have the time to focus on that, but you still need a PC or you want a good performance product or so on and so forth, you don't want to do the research as to what works well together, what are the best brands out there for each component, where am I going to go get the best price for everything, and you want a service solution, technical support and service solution that isn't reliant on just you. It's not just your responsibility. Like you have a warranty, you have somebody you can call if you do run into a jam, if a piece of hardware fails. You can have an on-site technician dispatched to your house to do the repairs for you so you don't have to deal with it. A lot of us come into that scenario at some point in our lives, whether it's we finally graduate from school, high school or college, and we get a job, and that job, we start focusing on it a little bit more. You start working 40 hours a week, 45, 50, 60 hours a week. Well, when you get to that point, if your available time to play a game starts going from I had 30 hours a week to play games to 20 to 10 to maybe I've only got 5 now hours a week to play games because maybe I met somebody and we start going out together. Maybe I got married. Maybe I start having kids. Maybe I do different things that just end up taking up more time in a day. Do you want to spend those 5 hours having to worry about getting your tech to work correctly? Or do you want to spend some of that new disposable income, hopefully, that you have as a result of the hard work you're putting into your career and just buy a turnkey solution that's going to be relatively affordable. It's going to give you incredible value, incredible quality, and it's an easy transaction. You go to a website or you pick up a phone, it arrives a few days later, and if anything goes wrong, it's send an email out or pick up the phone and say, this isn't working, and we swap out the components for you or we dispatch an on-site technician. So that's the solution that we offer. It's the same exact thing that prompted the start of the company 20 years ago. Nelson was getting calls from friends and family who were saying, hey, I just want to play a game and it's not running correctly on my gateway or on my compact computer out there. Can you build me something that's going to play Diablo or it's going to play Doom or Quake? And he would go and he would build these machines. And with enough people, the word started getting out that he was doing this. Enough people came to him asking him for gaming computers, which was a whole new term back then. That's what prompted him to say, let me send one of these things to Boot Magazine and see what they think. And that's where we got a great review in Boot Magazine, a kick-ass award. And that led to, hey, maybe we should send a PC over to PC Gamer, which at the time was really only focused on like game pads and games themselves. They didn't have a very strong hardware section because there wasn't a lot of hardware for gaming. And that winning that PC Gamer review, I think that was in '98, if I remember correctly. That's really where the company got like national attention, if you will, because the magazine was huge back then. And here was a company that was finally solving a problem that happened to be something that extended way beyond Nelson's family and friends. There was millions of people out there that were suffering from this. They just wanted to focus on their games. And here's somebody who's finally providing the solution. And the rest is history.
Yeah, and it was funny because like people talked about support, like they said, oh, you guys did outsource support, and they don't realize that it wasn't outsourced support. This was all part of the family. Like Miami, there's a Hispanic community. You have Cubans, you have Venezuelans, and Argentinians. So when they called, sometimes you'd hear an accent, and we had Costa Rican support, but they were all part of Alienware. So,
Yep.
but a lot of times you have people that think that it was, all these different components, and it was all part of the Alienware banner. So these are some of the things that I was hoping to have people understand more and more that this was all part of the group and we were all part of one team. But I can understand from a gamer's perspective, they may not understand because they just see from the outside. But one of the things I was curious about, I want to talk about was coming from the very beginnings of Alienware, where it was like almost like in a garage, and then being acquired by Dell and going forward from there. But there was a period where you had the first commercial showing up like on G4 TV back in the day, and then all of a sudden it was showing up on in TV shows and in movies and stuff. Was there ever a moment where I guess maybe the management felt almost like a swagger? Like when guys first went out to like the Microsoft building or something like that. Was there a moment where maybe before that, maybe some companies were like saying, "I wonder if Alienware is really gonna push to the next level," and then all of a sudden you guys were showing up in movies. Did you guys ever feel like that swagger? Like, yeah, guys, now look at us. Like before it started to really build up before the acquisition.
you know that that feeling hasn't gone away by any means. I do remember the first time our TV commercial aired on G4 TV. I can remember exactly where we were. I can remember we all got together inside the lunchroom 3 buildings ago, if you can remember that building, 2 or 3 buildings ago. And I remember it airing, and the sense of pride and smiles on the faces of everybody in that room was amazing. But we still feel that way. Like the other day, not the other day, but like 3 weeks ago, I think it was, maybe 4 weeks ago now, on The Big Bang Theory, when Sheldon's computer died and he got a new computer and it was a brand new Alienware 17. And I mean, we were passing that episode around. We were all talking to each other. Did you see it? Did you see it? It was amazing. I mean, we still take an incredible amount of pride.
And then in his storage unit, we're like, oh, did you see the
Yeah.
old one? He had 5 of them in there.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, he had an Aurora, he had an Area 51, he had a Predator too. I mean, we're still, we still nerd out about this stuff. Whether you were here, I think 15 years ago as part of the company, or you're still here today, um, every employee of Alienware, just because of how small and how hardcore we all worked, we all played a major role in the company. You had to wear many hats, and you could make a difference every hour, it seemed, right, of every day when you're part of Alienware. So whether you're a former or current employee, I mean, I think everybody has a sense of pride. Like, you know what, I belong to that thing, and the fact that it's still surviving 20 years later in such a competitive industry, and we're doing much more than just surviving. I mean, we're really thriving out there. We're still growing. We're still innovating. We're doing all these amazing things. And again, if you were an employee 15 years ago, 5 years ago, or today, none of that would be possible today if it weren't for everybody that contributed over our history. So there's a lot of legacy here. There's a lot of history here. There's a lot to be proud of. I hope that we're not the only ones that are dorking out and getting happy about seeing an Alienware head in movies or in commercials or When we did the Star Wars thing, what, about 9 years ago, the Star
Something
Wars
like that.
PCs, that was epic, right? I mean, that was just amazing. And you see how many firsts we did together and how now people are copying us. Now, like HP did a Star Wars laptop. We're like, you're a little late to the party, guys. That's old news. And you're seeing all these kind of like franchises try and get into PCs and do these cross promotional deals and all that. And I'm like, well, we've been doing that for 15 years, guys. Like we laid a lot of the groundwork out there. So even if it's whether we see some of our competitors following in our footsteps or we see Alienware in these movies or commercials and stuff, it gives us a lot of pride either way, to know that we've really built an exceptional team of people that have broken so much ground in so many different areas, even, not just the products, a lot of product first, but in how we've marketed and how we've innovated almost in every segment of how we've operated the business. Like you were saying around our tech support, it's so easy to outsource tech support. I mean, who wants to deal with the problems of having a tech support organization and having to do training and having to handle, I mean, all the complexities of dealing? I mean, there's companies out there that all they do is tech support and they outsource it. And we looked at solutions like that and we met with a bunch of companies. I remember personally meeting with a few of them myself. And the one thing that was missing with every company we met with is there was no emotional connection to the brand and no emotional connection to the product. We were just going to be another customer of theirs, and there was a bunch of metrics, and they were going to do their best to deliver the best metrics they possibly could for our business. But there was no emotional connection. Um,
On that
and
point, though, our call center in Costa Rica, speaking of emotional connection, we still talk to them on a daily basis.
absolutely,
They're getting involved in video production with us. They're getting involved in creating YouTube videos with us. Like the communication
mm-hmm.
is so fluid
They fly
between
to some
us.
of our events, right? They've gone with
Absolutely.
us to E3. They've gone with us to PAX. Yeah, when we talk, I personally talk to them at least once or twice a week when a customer escalation issue or something comes up. But that emotional connection, that investment in the brand, that passion is what has fueled Alienware for the past 20 years. And we try and preserve that in everything that we do. Whether it be, the people that are working on our tech support, of course, people that are working in our sales teams, the people that we have running our stores in China, for example. We have 130 Alienware stores in China. You walk in there and they're all wearing Alienware shirts and they can talk to you about the product, as well as any one of us can talk to you about the product. They play games. Sometimes they, get caught playing games while they're supposed to be working. I mean, that's awesome. Like we used to all do that,
Oh
right?
yeah, definitely.
So you look at it and you're like, these are people, we call it people who bleed green. They really bleed the Alienware blood, if you will. So yeah, I mean, a long explanation there, but ultimately, what has led our success has been preserving that. That has been the most important thing for us to preserve. And we've gotten more corporate, and we've gotten, I would say, more efficient and more professional in a lot of ways. But at the same time, people sometimes come into our meetings and they come into our big planning forums and stuff, and they see how we operate and they're like, this is different. Like there's different connections here. It's a very different environment than your typical corporate environment and all of that. And that's because we're very sensitive to ensuring that we keep it real, basically. We don't want to lose that very open and casual environment that we had in the beginning of the days of the company. So, our emails may look fancier, our PowerPoint slides may look fancier, our graphs may look fancier, but the conversations behind it, the way we get to that point, it's all exactly the way it was 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah,
What's
you got us just, I mean, when you hear us talking in meetings, because we all have so much history, there's a lot of teasing that goes into it, a lot of stories that come up all the time. I mean, speaking of casual, you got me and Joe here in shorts and polos nowadays.
Yeah.
We keep it lighthearted in the office, which is great. And one of the reasons why, we strive so hard on the other side of the business is because we have that balance.
What's really interesting is that with the change in how gaming has been accepted over the last really 10, 15 years where it's considered mainstream. You have like celebrities and people into it. Like I said, seeing Alienware, gaming in general, just in pop culture and all that. Is there a celebrity that has purchased an Alienware computer? Because I've seen like the orders that you were like either most proud of, or maybe even went to set it up. Because I've seen like some of that maybe you have a story about that you were like, wow, this person bought an Alienware computer that was custom made for them.
There's so many stories. The most recent one was Vin Diesel. He posted that on Instagram, and he bought it, or someone bought it for him. We had no idea. We were completely surprised. One of our employees who follows him sent it to us, and he's like, "Were you?" Or she was like, "Did you guys do this?" We're like, "No, this is awesome." So he was the most recent one. We've had Dale Earnhardt Jr. We've had so many people.
I can't even think.
Uh, Goodness.
A lot of
What
basketball
it's
games.
funny. What actually, besides just getting them,
Danny DeVito. Joe went to Danny DeVito's
yeah,
house and set up his system for him specifically. You've been to a bunch of people. You have Skrillex
yeah,
and how many? What other DJs do you have?
Morgan,
Morgan, of course.
yeah,
We have
the
a
Glitch
very
Mob,
Glitch Mob. Glitch Mob was really cool
yeah,
too.
Ed's great. Like especially over there, he's actually helped us out a lot along the way too.
Yeah, he's very technical. I mean, there's so many. It's
And it keeps growing. And we still get shocked all the time. But funny enough, what I've been getting a real kick out of the last year is doing first time VR demos
yeah,
for celebrities or influencers who they think they know when they go into it, and they come out and you see that
a
smile
jaw drop
and
and
like
wow.
the experience exactly.
I love it.
Um,
VR virgins. It's awesome.
that's what's been really getting me off these days is just watching
Really? Be careful where you go there, buddy.
professionally.
You're a married man now, so.
She's a pro chick. But yeah, I mean, it's just really cool to see. I mean, you were at PAX East, seeing people waiting in line for 5 hours to get this experience, seeing them act a fool in these rooms and coming out with these giant smiles and laughing. Um, that's what's really been awesome.
I've never seen so much butt crack in my life. We were showing the game with Oculus Dead and Buried, and it was a 4-player multiplayer game. So you're in VR multiplayer, and you had the Oculus Touch controllers, and you're standing up, and you're crouching, and all of this. And we had these see-through windows, so you can watch the people doing it. And I mean, what, 50% of the people were crouched down, and you just saw butt crack all over the place. It was a little uncomfortable, but after a while, you'd be amazed at how like immune you can get to butt crack being in your face. It just becomes like another thing.
Well, I admit, I've had so much fun just being at Alienware, just being exposed to just the different things that you could see. I mean, just having the president come down and have a LAN party. I mean, that's you don't see that, especially later on. Like I thought, when you get there and it was small. Like when I got there, we still had just this one warehouse, and then expand, and you start to think to yourself, oh, it's going to become more corporate. And yes, there was more structure, and there was more rules, but every once in a while, you'd still have that same party atmosphere. There was still things to do that was fun and things like that, and there was always those funny moments. Like I remember, and I'm not going to say anything to get anybody in trouble or anything like that, but I remember
I'm
sometimes
so fired.
yeah, right. I remember one time you would have a customer send back a box, and it I guess they were upset about something, and it said Alienware rocks on it, and they sent back a box and it was rocks in it instead of the computer. And it was like, oh my goodness, and it's just little silly things like that every once in a while you deal with it, but for the most part it was like, just funny adventures that you deal with. Like, did you have any just funny stories like that where it's like, nothing that's bad or anything, but just something that just made you smile just in your everyday adventures?
There's so many moments. Yeah, I think uh, one of the proudest moments for I think everybody here was last year. No, a year and a half ago now, I think, maybe last year. Um, you talk about adventures and things. You come to work every day and you work hard and you have fun and you're very focused on innovating and our customers and growing the business and helping our people grow and develop and everybody sharing in the success of the business. And we get an email one day from the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and they said, hey, we have a kid in our program, and he wants your job for a day, Frank. And that I think was like, I know for me, I was like, wow. And all the times I've said my job sucks, suddenly somebody wants my job. Or we thought like, man, sometimes it gets hard and you're like, shit, is this really worth it? But then there's people out there that, we kind of take it for granted. So his name is Joe. We still stay in touch with him. Him and I are emailing actually right now about some stuff. But his one wish was to come in and learn about Alienware and meet with us and have my job for a day. And we had a lot of fun. And the interesting thing is, we were brainstorming. I remember this, and we started arguing, which we usually do here all the time when we come up with ideas and stuff. We start because we're all very passionate. We're going back and forth and saying, I don't know about that. That's kind of stupid. Why don't you do it this way? Why the hell would we do that? So it gets a little aggressive sometimes, but we all know each other very well. So we just know that we're all fighting for the right things because what we think is the best thing for the business and our customers. And I remember after it, he's like, hey, did you guys settle on that fight? Was everything okay? Yeah. I'm like, Joe, that happens all the time. That's how it works every day. But you want to talk about an adventure. That was one of the proudest, if not the proudest moments, because it really grounded us as to what we have built here. It's so much more than just a job or a brand or a set of awesome products or all these firsts or any of that stuff. This really means a lot to people beyond just us. For some of us, Ray, you've been here 12, 13 years?
13, yeah.
So, a lot of us grew up here. I met my wife at Alienware. We had our 2 kids while I was working at Alienware. I was in high school when I started this thing. So my entire business education is the University of Alienware. And for a lot of people here, most of our employees have been here over a decade. They can say the same thing. They kind of grew up here and a lot of life events occurred for them here. So this means a lot to us. But to see that mean so much to some customers out there, that was amazing to us and very motivating for us to work even harder to make sure we keep it right.
2 weeks ago, I was at LaGuardia Airport, and the guy that was working at Cinnabon had an Alienware tattoo.
Oh, man.
That's right.
I took a photo of it, and I was texting Frank. I'm like, oh, my God, this guy's got a tattoo of our brand on his body permanently.
Yeah.
And we were so proud of it that we actually shared that photo through our social media channels. And the guy was so excited that we were so excited that he had that tattoo. And we sent him a bunch of swag stuff, and the guy's been emailing me. His name's Marvin. And it's really cool to see how, all the hard work that we've been putting in for all these years resonates with so many people.
Mm-hmm.
Between Joe and this guy Marvin and everybody else,
and it's a huge responsibility too. At the same time, there's at least 4 people that I know of that we've seen that have Alienware tattoos on them, right? And then you've got, of course, our huge customer and our huge fan base, and you build up this credibility with these people, right? And you got to make sure you don't let them down. Because for someone to go as far as tattooing our logo on their body, or to give us hundreds of dollars for a product because they trust from us that it's going to do everything that we say it's going to do and meet or exceed their expectations, it's an incredible responsibility that we take home with us every day to make sure that we never let them down when it comes to that stuff. And I'll tell you, it's so easy to let people down. It is so easy, and it's so hard to preserve your brand tenets and your promise to people because there's so much temptation out there. Like, we could do so many things to double and triple the size of our business. It would be so easy. We can go put an alien head on a shitty notebook out there that's all plastic with no overclocking capability, that throttles, that does all this stuff, and we could sell it for $500 and we'll sell a gazillion of them easy, and we'll all be heroes to the business for the year. But that's such a huge mistake. It's an obvious mistake, right? But it's just hard. To us, it's native, so it's not that hard for us. But there's so many opportunities and temptations out there to do something stupid. And I think we've been really good at resisting those things. And if we ever have done something stupid, we've done everything we possibly can to correct those wrongs. And our customers, thankfully, never hesitate to tell us when we screw up. But I think what we do very well is we listen, we act, and then we respond to when we have screwed up, and we really learn from our mistakes, and we really try and right any wrongs that we've made.
The
Has it?
M11X R1 hinge issue. They
Yeah,
gave lifetime warranty on that hinge.
lifetime warranty on the
Uh,
M11X hinge. We did another one recently when I did the Reddit AMA. I was getting ripped to pieces. The power supply.
Hmm.
Our customers, we had launched our notebooks a couple years ago, and they were really upset because the power supply we were shipping with the notebooks, they believed that it was causing some throttling on the notebooks. And we're like, no, 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 we designed it so that it wouldn't do that. Like we specifically put this, I forgot the name of the feature, so that we could actually overdrive the power supply while the CPU and the GPU needed that kind of jolt in performance and power for those seconds of time. And we were like, no, 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 it's supposed to work correct. And they were telling us, guys, it's not working correctly. It's screwed up. It's this. So we're like, all right, let's go figure this out. I mean, they're not lying to us, and there's something there. So we did a whole investigation. We reached out to like 5 customers. They sent us their units. They showed us the criteria for how they were replicating it. And sure enough, we screwed up. There was a bug in the BIOS code, and it wasn't operating the right way. So we went out. We said, you know what? Every single customer who's running into this issue and they're being affected by this, they're going to get a free 240-watt power supply to go off and correct it.
And we
Boy,
fixed the BIOS issue.
boy, did that cause some headaches internally. That
Bet.
was a decision that we made. It was absolutely the right thing to do, but that's an expensive decision. That's an expensive decision to stand by. And for over a year, while we were studying that product, we still kept sending out a few hundred power supplies every single month to people that were, it wasn't hundreds, it was a few power supplies that said, hey, I'm being affected by this issue still. We'd send them the BIOS, it'd update it, they wouldn't be affected by it, but because we made that commitment, we stood by it. Even if you weren't affected by it anymore, if you still wanted that 240, we made that commitment to you, you were going to get that 240-watt power supply. So, at the end of the day, we're not a fly-by-night company. I think we've proven that by 20 years of history.
Right.
So for us, when we make decisions, it's really important to us that it's not only the right decision now, but it's going to be the right decision for us 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago, 10 years from now, because we want this to be a 30-year-old company one day. We want it to be a 40-year-old company one day. And you have to make sure that you make a commitment to a customer, you preserve that commitment to them, because it takes decades to build a brand, but it takes seconds to destroy it. And we know that, and we're very sensitive to making sure that we don't make that mistake.
There's a lot of games that's coming out, and some that's just recently been released that are really pushing the graphics that are required for you to have on the system. So a lot of people are talking about upgrading their systems. You talk about Doom, Star Citizen, things like that. But before that, a lot of the games are allowing you to run your computer much longer, and then you also have a lot more people playing phone games, things like that. Did you guys notice that maybe people were keeping their PCs longer or not needing to have a high performance PC? And has that affected the way you guys, launch things or run your business, or has it been pretty much, you know, business as usual over the last few years?
No, I think we definitely are cognizant of that. For us, we see that stuff, fortunately, because we play games and we live the brand as much as we do. We don't have to wait until data comes out and tells us that this is happening in the marketplace. We saw it. And the proof points that I can share with you that demonstrate how long ago we saw this trend that you're talking about, where kind of the games weren't pushing the hardware to its limits as much as it were in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, is when you saw us come out with products like the X51. We came out with that product over 4 years ago now, if I remember correctly. And we basically capped it out at today it's a GTX 970. Back when we launched it, I think it was a 760
It was a 60 series, yeah.
or 660 back then. And that was like unheard of, right? For a gaming machine to be tapped out at a kind of a performance mainstream graphics card. But our focus then was, hey, we're seeing this emergence occur where there's a lot better scalability in games now. You can actually run most games, if not all games, and just scale down your graphics a little bit to be able to do it. So the need for these huge towers that have all this performance and all this cost inside of them is not, it is diminishing. Starting, the need is diminishing. The demand is still there for it. People still want the biggest and the most badass shit you can build. So we still build that happily. But there's a real opportunity to make PC gaming more accessible to people by building form factors that are a little bit more practical. They put out less heat. They're less expensive, and they're just easier to put in your house or your room. These huge towers would always have to go under the desk, and we get people complaining that they couldn't fit it under their desk, and it was like a little space heater and all that stuff. So that really gave birth to the X51. And then since then, you've seen us build the Alpha, which we took a lot of that performance and miniaturized it even further. And we put it into a form factor that's the size of an old Nintendo Wii, basically. Yet it outperforms an Xbox or a PlayStation 4. And again, it's because of those reasons. And then we've priced that thing like at $449 and plays most games out there. If you buy the 8 gig with an i5, it plays every game that's out there. So we are absolutely trying to take advantage of the fact that some PC games, most PC games out there, are not as demanding as they used to be. And you can build a solution that's really small, really cost effective, really high quality, and it performs exceptionally well. That'll play 99% of the games that are out there, and not have to spend more than $500-600 for something like that. So if you look at our products, right, we have the Alpha now that's in that category. We have the X51 in that category. But at the same time, we're starting to see VR applications come in, and it's like 1999 all over again, or 2005 all over again. VR's come in, and it's driving for some really, really massive performance specifications. So the high end, if you will, and the kind of the tower category and the desktop replacement, like 17-inch notebooks and stuff, and what gave birth to the Alienware graphics amplifier, that stuff is now like resonating incredibly, because you have to have a 970 minimum graphics card in there, and a lot of our customers want a 980 or a 1080 or something like that. So we're kind of seeing Back to the Future here occur, where things got a little, I would say, performance demands got a little kind of middle class, if you will.
Yeah.
And now things are getting really, really high end again because of VR.
Well, you have VR in 4K.
Yeah, 4K.
And 4K pushing too. Yeah, absolutely. It's a bitch to run a 4K game.
Yep.
You need a hell of a rig to run a 4K game at 60 frames per second minimum. You need some serious horsepower.
All right, so last thing, since in Miami, I know that a couple of weeks ago, you were speaking to students over at the Wilson campus, and you were talking to the game development people. Could you tell us a little bit about that, what you talked to them about? Because I think that's really interesting, reaching out to students, helping them, giving them like wisdom about the industry. Could you just talk to us a little bit about like what you talked to them about?
Yeah, I do this a lot. I'll be talking tomorrow, actually, to elementary school kids, and we have a big college coming in. Is it tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow they're coming in. So tomorrow will be like all education-focused day for me.
You've got elementary, I've got college.
And, well, I'll come back to speak to them as well. Look, for us, it's really simple. We have been very fortunate to have this opportunity in the PC gaming space. As an industry, right? We've been able to all participate in this booming industry, and for now, there's no signs that it's going to let up. So we have a really good future and a good opportunity here. Alienware has been a gem in that for thousands of employees over its history, and we've learned a lot. And we look at kind of where folks are today in their evaluation of where they want to go and what they want to do, and there's a lot of experience and wisdom that we can help them with and we can pass down to help just get them started, and help give them a head start on some of the things that they're considering doing. So I try and speak to as many people as my time allows me to, to give them, to share with them just some of our experience, some of the success factors that have helped us become successful as a company and as a brand, to help advise them if they ever need advice on what maybe they should do next, or whether it be in their educational career, whether in their work career, in their if they're a startup. Some of the lessons that we learned from Alienware being a startup and now Dell being the world's largest startup. So it's part of us giving back. I'm very fortunate in that the team here at Alienware is phenomenal. We have the best team, I think, that in the entire industry that you could possibly have working on gaming stuff. And it has enabled me to be able to spend more of my time with outreach like that and talking to students, talking to business entrepreneurs, talking to startups and stuff. And we do it just because we want to see the community thrive. We want to see more game developers developing badass games. That's good for everybody in the industry. We want to see more kids get into PC gaming or console gaming as well, any type of gaming, because this is a great industry to be in, right? I mean, you can actually be a hardcore gamer and then go learn how to program, be a programmer, and suddenly start programming games. That's amazing. That's basically what we did on the hardware side. Is we were hardcore gamers, and we learned how to make gaming hardware. And holy crap, look what we built over here together. So it's so simple in some ways. It's like, take your passion. If you love to play video games, take that passion and just start making some of the best games that you possibly can out there. And it's so easy today to do it. And in the old days, in the 90s, before really, we had things like Greenlight and Kickstarter and Indiegogo and all that stuff, you basically had to build a game and then convince a major publisher to go off and put money behind that game, print CDs or DVDs, put it in retail, do all that stuff. And if they weren't going to sell a ton of marketing, if they weren't going to sell 300,000 copies, they weren't going to pick up your game. I can't imagine, because we just don't know, how many amazing games never got to see the light of day,
Right.
because of the way it was organized back then, the market was. Today you've got so many tools out there, Greenlight, Android, iOS, all these things that very easily put your game out there and have it succeed.
We have an indie program.
We have our own indie program where we help give you hardware and resources to help get your game to become more successful. There's so many resources out there today that it's really an exciting time to be an entrepreneur in any category, but especially to be somebody that's interested in gaming, because there's just so many tools, so many people like us who there are willing to help people out with our indie program, or pretty much anybody that ever reaches out to me and says, hey, Frank, can you give me some advice, or can you connect us with anybody on your team that can help us out? We're thinking about doing a startup, or we're thinking about doing this. There's no strings attached. We're happy to have a conversation and help each other out. And again, it's because of that. We've been very fortunate, and we want to just try and help as many people as possible for them to be as fortunate, if not more, than we've been.
So to add two things, if you want to know more about the indie program, go to alienwarearena.com. All the information is there if you're out there listening. And two, the Magic program and the scholarships that we do over there.
Yeah, thanks, Ray, for the reminder. So we do a program at sorry, I'm getting a phone call here. We do a program with Miami-Dade College, really exciting. So their founder of this program is called Magic. It's the Miami-Dade Animation Graphics Illustration College, something like that.
It's a long acronym.
We call it Magic. It's officially called. But they went out and they created a really badass game development, animation, and programming school in downtown Miami. And they put state-of-the-art equipment. I mean, brand new Wacom tablets with brand new Dell workstations, and we didn't require them to buy Dell workstations by any means. They made that decision entirely on their own, even before we started working together. 3D printers.
The build looks awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. They have 3D printers. They have a motion capture studio. They have a recording studio. They have classrooms. It's amazing. So you walk in, and we've seen some of these schools out there and around the country that have built programs like this. And you're like, this is like a $50,000 a year program, right? Because this is a state of the art facility and everything. And they're like, no, it's like I think $4,000 a year or $5,000 a year for a student to come in, do 2 years, and basically walk out of there being an animator, a programmer, a game programmer, or a game designer,
Or a sound programmer.
or sound. I mean, you can go into any one of those tracks. So for less than $10,000, you can walk out with a skill set basically to go have a successful career. That was extremely inspirational to us. So we partnered with them on two scholarship programs there. One, during summer, we do a summer camp where high school kids can come in. They do a summer camp there at Magic, and we provide funding for 20 students to be able to do that. So they can come in, they don't have to pay any fees or anything. We provide all the funding for that. And then during the school year, we provide 8 scholarships. I think it's 8 scholarships, 6 or 8 scholarships. Maybe it's 6. I don't remember right now. 6 or 8 scholarships, so you can go through the entire 2 year program and not have to pay a thing. It's all sponsored by Alienware and Dell. So, just again, it's our way of giving back. Here was something really inspirational, really motivating to us, to help students kind of find their way, get a skill set, go out there and build some more badass stuff for the industry. And there's no strings attached to it whatsoever. It's not like you have to build PC games or you have to develop on Alienware. None of that stuff. It's purely our way of giving back. And Dell's very charitably focused. We don't talk a lot about it, but Dell, as a company, gives hundreds of millions of dollars a year, every single year, to a bunch of different charities out there. We mandatorily have to volunteer at least 1 hour per employee per year. We
Mostly
actually
requested.
Yeah, Alienware is really good. We do about an average of between 12 to 20 hours each employee because we do an event every quarter, a community service event every quarter at
We're actually up
Alienware.
to once a month.
We're doing one once a month now?
Yeah.
I'm not here so much.
Yeah, you're on the road much. So about 4 hours a month.
Nice. So we're very, very Dell as a company and culture and everything is very, very focused on giving back and stuff. So we're there's always really cool things like that we're doing. We're very proud of what we're doing with the Magic program.
Well, that's very cool. I really enjoyed all my time at Alienware, and I really think that with everything that's done, I really wanted to get you guys to talk about, some of the things that's gone on. There was always little questions that people always had about Alienware that I wanted to get addressed, and of course the stories that you guys told. So I really appreciate talking to you, and it was great to also have Raymond come on. So have a little bit of a dynamic duo.
I'm just the voice in the background, buddy.
Yeah, don't show his face. Don't show his face, or that you'll lose all your listeners.
Well, that's the thing with that name, because the funniest thing is when people used to say, they're like, man, I always thought that Raymond Watkins, I thought that was a black guy, and he's not.
I get that all the time.
But
I'm gonna say right now, but
but no, thanks to Frank Azor and Raymond Watkins for coming on the show with us today. Thanks a lot, guys. It was awesome.
good to talk to you, buddy.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
buddy.